heavyweight. Screen to screen.
Welcome to Screen to Screen. I'm speaking with artist Paul Verdell in his studio in Toledo.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, for people unfamiliar with your work, could you introduce us to your practice and what you like to make?
Right now, I've been doing a lot of drawings. I do mainly oil pastel, portraiture, a lot of, figurative portraiture, still lifes. A lot of inspiration of mine comes from sort of like the Impressionists and Fauvism. I just like work with a lot of color.
I know we said last time about you drawing from archival images due to people being unable to sit for you at the moment. What are you working on at the moment?
With everything that's been going on as far as like with COVID, I've had some people kind of come in, but I try to keep it, I try to do the 6 feet thing and, wear masks and everything like that to kind of keep it guidelined, I guess. But I've also been looking at a lot of archives, a lot of like old school 80s and 90s hip hop archives. I love the fashion at that time. It's just like super colorful fashion. I've also been looking at a lot of Polo, like the brand, because it has a lot of Americana images in it. So it's like a lot of the flag, and I've been seeing what I could do with that and kind of pulling from that and putting these into my portraiture.
Maybe now would be a good chance for you to take us on a little studio tour.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. So let's see. Let me see if I can just get this right. There we go. So yeah, I've had a couple people come through, like a friend of mine right here. I was able to have him sit for me and draw him. Again, this is oil pastel. And then this right here is a sketch I did of a young Dapper Dan. So that was just kind of like fun. I've been really interested in Dapper Dan. This is mainly a lot of the work that I've been doing as far as like drawings, mostly all oil pastel and oil stick. But this is what's been keeping me preoccupied. These are a lot of the pieces that I've been doing. So mainly just practicing. I've also been getting back into painting a little bit. This one's my favorite right here. Is a friend of mine named Nick. He's a photographer, and I just had him sit for me, and this just kind of came out. And so yeah, I've also been getting back into oil painting as well. But yeah, this is mainly my studio. I cleaned up before all this.
Nice. And obviously, I spoke to you about the protest in Toledo. And I think it's also interesting to consider that in response to obviously in context of the statement about museums being neutral and the protest that you're involved with there in Toledo. Maybe you could share what the goal was of that protest.
Yeah, so the Toledo Museum of Art a couple weeks back took a neutral stance as far as, with police brutality and, what is happening on an American, in America to Black people, by the police killing us. And they decided to kind of play the neutral game. So since then we had protested. Me and a couple other friends had organized, and the community organized as well. And we went out there, and and then we told them that that's not okay. You can't be a museum, have all the Black all the black artwork in there and just claim neutrality and just, pretend that these issues don't exist. So we wanted to speak out against that, and they ended up apologizing. And right now we're basically in works to make that museum more better for the community, as far as because the museum's actually smack dab in the black community in Toledo, and the fact that if they can't stand up for black people, then it makes no sense for them being there. So and the museum is a huge staple of Toledo. I mean, I remember a friend of mine said that if Toledo was a drawer, and you open that drawer, the Toledo Museum of Art would be the jewelry box. And that was, for me, that's the reason why we ended up going out and protesting and letting them know that they have to stand up for Black lives and they can't just opt out. Especially they had a ton of different shows in there, as far as and they have a lot of Black art in there too. So they can't, they can't just opt out of that.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's pretty amazing how we still have to protest during a pandemic. That should say a lot, because if there's a pandemic going around, but we still have to go out there and feel like that, we have to fight for our rights and everything like that, then anybody who says that there is no problem, there is a huge problem. I mean, you can't just think that thousands of people didn't go out there to protest. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think that even here, as a small scale, because Toledo's a very small city, even here we had a huge community kind of come out and support Black Lives Matter. And the city that I'm in is not necessarily super on the side of Black Lives Matter, but we've got a lot of people who came out. So it said a lot for the community that so many people were able to come out. And it's not even just for the TMA protests. We have protests all across the board, just to see how many people came out and how many people were willing to, fight. And
definitely, yeah.
Do all of that is just amazing. So yeah, it's just been kind of interesting to see, and it's been amazing to see. But it's been at the same time, it's scary to see, because as far as what's going on with the pandemic, it's we hope for everybody. We hope everybody's safe, and we hope that nobody gets sick.
I think it does speak volumes about the urgency of fighting systemic racism and police brutality that people have, come out in full force. Are you sort of finding that daily routines are being restored? Are you seeing more friends and things?
Oh yeah, it's starting to definitely be restored. I mean, but it's not completely, and that's actually a good thing, because we still have no clue with what's going on. So and the best thing to do is to really be on your guard and just kind of keep to yourself for a little bit. But it's I still see people every once in a while, but I'm not going over to parties or anything like that. I like having people in the studio to talk to. If I have my friends over, talking, but sometimes it can be distracting. And I think it's distracting because there's a physical person right there. So I feel if I'm drawing or painting, I'm being rude by not engaging with them.
Yeah.
And when I listen to a podcast, it's you have a conversation going on in front of you, and you can just listen in, and you're not being rude by not saying anything.
Yeah, you can just be completely passive and
yeah.
The best of both worlds, a conversation that you don't actually have to participate in.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Do you have much attention on colour theory in your work, or is it more instinctive?
Oh, it's really instinctive, because I mean, I wouldn't say that I didn't pay attention to color theory, because it's definitely more instinctive, because I kind of I'm still studying it. to be honest. A lot of the work that when I draw or paint, it's a lot of how I'm feeling. It's not always just like, has to be like correct, but I do, you know, make choices as far as like what makes sense to me and what would look good. But yeah, I would say a lot of it's instinctive. I've always been told to just kind of do what feels right, you know, and that always is like in the back of my head every time I like paint or draw, just kind of do what feels right. There's so many like lists and rules and stuff like that, and you know, I feel like that might work for some people, but you know, for me, sometimes it's just kind of like, you know, just kind of do what makes you feel good, what feels right to you. So I think that influences my color choices quite a bit.
Thanks so much for your time.
No problem. Thank you.
Lovely speaking to you as always, and you take care.
Definitely, you as well.
Over now.
Heavyweight.